part in developing these ghost stories. This house is one of those instances. There was a girl in 1979. I did a little homework and found out that she did in fact commit suicide in one of the upstairs bedrooms of this home. And we're going to do a lap through and see what we find. Ladies? Okay. All right.
A lot of negativity is what I'm feeling around. But I feel like she's a very sweet person. She's not out here to harm anyone. That's what she's trying to pull off right now. It's just that people were scared of her. That's what she was all her life. You know, when she was pushed out, that's what she's trying to give me the vibes is right now. You can see I got the chills. Yeah, I got the chills too.
This is the typical spooky scare story.
But the night of the accident, because she says it's an accident, she didn't really want to die. But she was trying to pull off her help, but she went too far. But there wasn't supposed to be nails in here. But there was 2 nails.
Wow.
There wasn't supposed to be nails around here, but there was. We might have been in the room, we might have been outside. That's what they were outside, they talked. But when she came in, she was very, very depressed. She really doesn't want to talk anymore. She says she wants to rest.
Well, I would say that this concludes our into the investigation. Sure. And we'll have more from the studio with Rose and her daughter. Okay, we obviously have a lot to talk about. Spooky old houses, how about that? I was a little bit nervous, but I was reassured by the two of these, I guess you can call them experts on the subject, that I was okay and I didn't have anything to be scared of. And basically, ghosts aren't out to scare you. That's what you told me.
No, I don't feel they're out there to scare us or harm us in any way.
Okay.
I feel if you don't bother them, they're not going to bother us.
Right. Now, we did come in contact with a spirit that you all told me in the alumni house. As I said earlier in the video we just saw, there was a girl that actually committed suicide in one of the upstairs bedrooms, and students have been scared to go near the house ever since. But you have actually been able to shed some light on what happened and what transpired that night. Can you tell us a little bit about what you felt there?
Well, what I felt, it was someone that was hurting her. There was a lot of sadness in her life. She was a very depressed person. There was a lot to do with her love. She was sheltered out of her family's life and everybody's life, and she was just looking for answers. I think it was a mistake what she done, and that's what she's trying to perspire to other kids that are coming in there that are lonely. I think most of the people that she shows herself to is people that is a lot like her in some way or another, that feel sheltered out of the world, and she's trying to tell them that is not the way out of this.
Now, you had mentioned that it was an accident, and that's what came across to you.
Right.
Is that correct?
It wasn't something that she meant to do on purpose. It was just, she was in a very emotional state of mind when she did it, and she wasn't happy afterwards, and she realized it wasn't what she wanted, and that's why she hasn't been able to pass on.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting stuff. I've got to ask you this. How did you become aware and realize that you have these special abilities, these talents?
Now, I've been having, since ever I was little, I always felt things around me. I had dreams that used to come true. I used to see things and Mom didn't believe, you know. Most moms don't believe kids when they say, oh, I see someone in my room, or
Parents
someone.
believe your children.
Right, you know. But Grandma did. Grandma, you know, knew what was going on. She told us what was happening. And as I got older, she either told me you either push it away from yourself, and you can walk away from your, everyone has a sixth sense. I mean, I feel everyone has a sixth sense, we just don't use it.
Mm.
I feel we just are not aware of it.
Okay. Well, on that note, I went, and I just thought about this, to New York shortly after September 11th and saw the World Trade Center site. And you could just feel, you know, an overwhelming sadness
Oh,
in the
yeah,
air.
we were there.
Now,
so
is that something, is that my sixth sense tapping in there? Is there a difference
yeah.
between what I felt and
No, I
what
think
you
I
all
have a
did?
sixth sense. Yes, I think most people does have a sixth sense. I think, you know, sometimes we get our awareness and we don't go by it. And then when we do, we know we fell into mistakes.
You had mentioned earlier in the house that you have to step out on faith, and that your is it wrong to call it your powers, your abilities, your talent comes from faith, and it's directly related to your faith.
Sure.
Could you speak a little bit about that?
What do you mean by faith?
By faith, you had mentioned earlier in the video, and this wasn't we didn't air this, but that you have to be in touch with faith and believe in God to even sense things like this.
Right, you have to have belief in yourself. You also have to have belief in God to see things and feel things around you. Because if you don't, you're not going to feel them and you're not going to know what's right and wrong.
Right.
You have to have the faith in yourself and your inner self. Because some of us doesn't understand there's spirits that lives inside of us. We're just flesh.
That's very interesting stuff. How do you feel about that? Is that your same beliefs as your mother?
Yeah, spiritually you just have to be more in touch with yourself. As long as you believe that when you pass on that you can be a spirit too, then you can get in touch with other ones.
So I could become a ghost after I'm 6 foot under. Is this?
Yeah, and transparent you to people out there and do good deeds.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. You are able to read people well as a psychic
Yes.
and sense things about people. How do you go about doing that? I mean, is it something that just comes to mind? Do you see people and automatically have something? Do you ever bomb out and draw a blank and don't have anything on anyone?
Oh, yeah, certain times it does happen because there's certain people that you can't read. That doesn't really want to know what their future is or what's going on around them.
Actually, she told me earlier that I have a very long and great success and future ahead of me in journalism, and I'll be very rich and famous and popular and have tons of friends. Let's get back on topic. We got a little off there.
That's okay.
With the ghost and with the supernatural, have you ever had any experiences that were scary to you? Now, you say, don't be afraid, but we had talked earlier, and you'd mentioned something about you had a couple run-ins that were a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, you do. We lived in a house at once, and as we was downstairs, we heard noises upstairs, and we went up there, and there was broken glass and stuff like that. And you just got to know how to deal with it and just like walk away from it. Sometimes you have to walk away from things like that because there is unsettling spirits.
Mm-hmm. Now, how would we know the difference? I mean, between a nice ghost, as we talked about earlier, that's just there to...
I feel if it's a tragic death, like a murder, or I don't think sometimes suicide is not what we think it is. Some people take suicide as being, but sometimes some people are so depressed. Do they pass on? I think eventually, yeah, when Judgment Day does come, they will pass on. But murders and people that are harmed by other people's hands, there's more to that, and they're trying to call out.
And should we call back or meet them halfway? Even
no, I think from people like that, you might have to be aware of because they're looking to hurt others because they've been hurt.
Very briefly, have you ever had an instance when you felt actually in danger?
Not really. I've been in houses that's been haunted and lived there. And, they do have control of you. Mm-hmm. We lived in a house not so long ago that, we felt it was controlling our lives. And for like 2 years, we felt like we didn't have control of our own lives.
Mm.
It was just like it was letting us to be. Sometimes it gives you a comfortable feeling instead of a scary feeling. So you really got to know what's going on.
Well, that leads directly into the last question that I want to ask you this afternoon. If my house is haunted, what do I do? Who do I see? We can't call the Ghostbusters in.
Right.
So how do I go about dealing with living with the stress of having a ghost in my house, whether it be nice or not so nice?
Well, there's special rituals, ceremonies that you could be doing, spiritually. And you could draw them out if they're scary ones, or you just, like my husband told you the other night, walk away.
just walk away.
Yeah.
Well, that
because there's some that are unsettling that you don't really want to bother with them.
we have a few seconds remaining. Could you give what's your final thought on ghosts and the way we should approach them, the way we should deal with them, live with them?
I think we just need to live with them and let them live in their world and us live in our world.
Great. What about you?
I think you should just be patient with them. You'll know if it's a bad spirit or a good spirit. If you're calm while they're with you, then they'll give you the sign if they're bad or good.
Great. Well, I want to thank you very, very much for this wonderful interview and talk today. It's been very, very interesting, and that just about concludes our program today. Hopefully we've given some stories and perhaps even shed some light on a rather dark and spooky subject, which are the ghosts, and here and abroad. We'd like to thank our guests again for being with us today, and like to invite you to join us again next time, Sundays at 8 o'clock, Mondays at 7 p.m., and Thursdays at 5:30. For EHC TV, I'm Brendan Farmer. Have a great afternoon. Thank you all for being with us. You all did a great job.
Thank you.